All right, welcome, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Lindsay and I, this is just insane that we're even doing this.
I know.
Oh my gosh. We did an episode on my podcast, the Cry to My Cheesecake podcast, and we just kind of hit it off. That was the first time we actually met each other. And
First time we really talked.
I know, and it's crazy. I feel like we've talked on Instagram and we met each other through the NTA, the Nutritional Therapy Association, where we both got our certifications and our education for nutrition. And we just kind of clicked. And then when we started talking, it was like, oh crap, we're
We need to
almost,
do something.
yeah, we've got to do something. So
This needs to be bigger than this.
it does. It needs to be bigger than just one podcast episode. So we started thinking about, we both come from a biblical worldview, and we both know and love the fact that our bodies have innate intelligence. Like we were designed with innate intelligence. And all of that points to Jesus. All of that points to the creation. All of that points to the fact that we have control over more than we think we do.
Most certainly.
Yeah. And so we decided, I don't know, in the middle of August to sit down and actually brainstorm about doing a podcast and what it would be called and all of that. So that's what we're going to walk you through. It's just
And the
kind of how
meeting
we.
lasted like 4 hours.
Oh my gosh. That's what my
I
husband.
wish we would have recorded that meeting.
I know. My husband was like, "So how long is this going to take?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Because when we
Oh,
talked,
it's
we
gonna
talked.
take a long time. Even
Oh
just
my
in making our name, we should have just recorded that and we could have shared just our meeting behind the
You real
scenes.
you realize like that was gold. That was gold.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna have to like
It
record.
frustrates me that we didn't record it.
I know, and you even said we should hit record, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I will
Just the
not.
raw, the real.
Yes, I will not record anymore. Like, 'cause that's
Yeah.
important.
Every meeting we ever have, such good content.
Because we're that good. We're
Yeah.
always good.
Usually, whenever you're not planning something, is when you're the best.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
very true. And like, so will you talk us through or talk to us about how like you were going, like you literally picked up your phone and you had an Instagram message in your DMs.
I'm going to read it to you
Do
if
it.
I can find it.
Do it because this was huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a message from a lady. Let me see if I can find it.
It was definitely like almost as if that woman was supposed to have messaged you at that exact time because then you were able to share your response, which is what started us. Like we were brainstorming, right? Like I was literally, we were both writing things down on paper.
And we
And
didn't even know what we were going to talk about. Like,
yeah, no idea. We had no, and we actually have like, I don't know how many seasons prepared now. Like, so there's that. There's
yeah.
that for you all that we are actually recording in seasons. So we will probably be wearing the same clothes if you're watching us on video for the whole first season or so. You'll actually be able to see what episodes we record at the same time. So yes, that's how this podcast will pretty much go. Is that we will be recording in seasons, kind of take a break because both of us have very busy lives, and we're constantly on the move, on the go, but we also feel very deeply called to this podcast.
Yes. Okay. So I can't find that message anywhere.
Oh
But
no!
I should have found it. But she basically just said, you're in this holistic world. She was like, I love your content. I love what you share. And she said, but I feel like you're a Christian just by what you're sharing. And I was like, yes, I serve Jesus and everything that I do is for him. And she was like, a lot of times in the holistic world, I start following somebody and then all of a sudden they start sharing all of these new world, new age, religion type stuff. And I was like, she said, is that something that's taught to you? And I was like, oh, yeah. Like it's not taught in our schooling. It's not taught in, the things that we're learning, but the devil can take anything. The devil can take everything good that Jesus gives us
Mm.
and flip it for his own good. And so, yeah, I told her, I said, the earth, no, I'm not going to go walk out on the grass and get this energy from the earth.
Yes.
Did God give the sun energy for our bodies and to give our bodies the strength that we need, the immune system, the vitamin D that we need from the sun? Yeah, God gave us
Absolutely.
that. God gave the sun energy. He gave the earth energy. Everything that he gave us has a purpose. Every plant that is planted on planet Earth has a purpose, but when we start to give the power to the things of God's creation, that's whenever we get this new age confusion that makes people think, well, like, oh, they're giving credit to the herbs. No, it's not the herbs that have the credit. It's not the herbs that have the power. God instilled that into him, just like he instilled power into us.
Yes. See, and that's what you just hit on it, that when we talked
Yeah.
about it when we were doing worshiping, like I think that new age, or I don't even know if I'm using the right term, but that typical or stereotypical holistic
Hmm.
perspective is that we worship the creation, not the creator.
Right.
And that's where it kind of goes wrong. And I can see where it would easily, like you said, the devil would easily spin that, oh, this
Right.
herb is magical. Superfoods. Superfoods, where do you think that they came from? The plants and the animals that God gave us. And I know that you and I agree on this. The best superfood is probably not in a berry, but probably in
It's
a
liver.
organ, the liver, the desiccated liver or the actual liver. I cannot bring myself to eating liver. I just can't. I have this thing. I will butcher any animal that you hand me. Like I will skin it, I'll fillet, I'll do whatever you give me. But that organ meat, it smells. I can't. And even like duck eggs. So we're off topic for a minute. But this is how we roll. And I just said this is how we roll. I'm so sorry. I may have some inner city come out in my voice and some massive Midwest whatever. I went to Canada. Side note, another side note. I went to Canada, and this gal, I was in the pharmacy, and the gal's like, "Are you from the Midwest?" And I'm like, "How do you know that? Like, I don't have an accent." And she's like, "Yeah, you do." Anyway, so I apologize for anybody not from the Midwest that doesn't talk like me. I'm so sorry, but like, I could not. I don't even know where I was going with that. But anyway, I cannot do like actual duck eggs. I can't do duck eggs from the smell. I know that
Oh,
they are so good for you, and they are like another multivitamin kind of thing. So I just
yeah.
had my husband cook them for me, and then I'll eat them.
Yeah. See, I love the taste and the texture of liver.
Oh, really?
But like there's veins in it.
Hmm.
And if I chew one of the veins and I get that in my teeth, oh, I'm done. I spit it out. I'm over it.
See, and that, yeah, I can't do that. And I don't do like for me with meat, I like my meat well done always. Like all my proteins, I love well done. I can't,
No, no, Danielle, no.
I can't.
Like the outer rim can be done. The
Oh,
inside, pink as possible.
I can't. And but the flip side of that is that my fish, I want my fish raw because it's a
Oh
texture.
yeah, always.
Yeah, like I can't do. Whoa! Even my eggs. I know you're probably like turning your nose up at my over hard eggs.
Oh
Like,
no, eggs should only be over hard.
oh, or
Only.
scrambled. But it's disgust. I cannot stand soupy eggs. My kids call them gooey eggs, and I'm like,
Mm.
I
Like
just.
even watching people eat yolk, like when it's just running all over their plate, I
Mhm.
can't watch it. I'll vomit.
Yep.
That's
So
one thing I'm like, I gotta leave the table.
so disgusting. Well, that's like I don't know if you've been to like Fogo de Chão before, like that Brazilian steakhouse. I
Oh
was
yeah.
I was eating there one time with some friends, and the dude across from me, he was eating rare meat. And all that was left on his plate was blood. And I'm like, okay, I have no appetite anymore.
Oh,
This is
see, I love
gross.
that.
Whoa, I can't. I'm like, is that even warm? Like, is the blood even warm? Is it like whatever? And he's like, no. And I'm like, and then you see him chewing like this like like see, I just don't like gummy nasty meat at all. Whoa.
Oh,
Anyway, sidetracked into how we got like worshiping God's creation versus the creator. So we were thinking about that, and we were talking about and you actually said in your message to her something about the rocks cry out.
yeah. Yeah. I told her, I said, God, I think it was something about minerals. Like God gave us minerals in our rocks. Like it saying, when they use, even the rocks will cry out. Even when Abraham hit the rock and water flooded out of it. Like it wasn't just for that instance. Everything that Jesus gave us has a purpose. The rocks have a purpose. We have minerals. Our body needs minerals. And so I said, even the rocks will cry out, even our body, every symptom in our body will cry out to us. And that's exactly what we're taught. That's what we do with our clients. We teach them what their symptoms mean. Because, one that one that baffles me is being ticklish. Being ticklish is a symptom of something.
Yep.
And when we just ignore our body's messages, when we ignore what our body is telling our brain, how can we expect to be healthy?
Yep.
Because
And like,
sorry,
oh no, go ahead.
just like, the symptoms, like, I mean, the rocks will cry out. Jesus tells us that when we aren't doing our job, when we are not doing our job and telling people about Jesus, his creation will cry out.
Hmm.
That's what that verse is telling us. And
Yep.
so if I don't listen to my body, if I don't listen to, I'm ticklish, so I need more magnesium, I need better minerals in my body. If I don't listen to that, I'm going to keep having symptoms come up and I'm going to have crazy disorders and I'm going to get really, really sick because I didn't listen to the symptoms. Just like we don't talk about Jesus. When we don't talk about Jesus, his creation's going to cry out. Our body's going to cry out when we don't pay attention to it.
Yep.
Because we're part of his creation too.
Yes, we are. And that's in like our inner, like at the cellular level, it is as if our cells are worshiping God. It's as
Yes.
if our cells desire, because you're right, they do cry out. And I'm just going to go ahead and read our verse, like our foundational verse of this podcast, the Even the Rocks podcast. It is Luke 19:40, and we both read from the ESV version, so yours may look or sound a little bit different. But it says, He answered, meaning Jesus answered, and this is red, like this is Jesus talking. I tell you, if these were silent, the very stones would cry out. Let me give you some context. If we go back up at the beginning, it's about the triumphal entry. And if we go back up, I'm going to start back in Luke 19, verse 28.
Hmm.
And when he said these things, he went on ahead, going up to Jerusalem. When he drew near to Bethpage and Bethany at the mount that is called Olivet, he sent two of his disciples, saying, Go into the village in front of you, like just down there, go down to that village in front of you, where on entering you will find a colt tied on which no one has ever yet sat. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you, Why are you untying it? You shall say, The Lord has need of it. So we're talking about God, Jesus's like entry into, like, I don't know if you are a follower of Jesus, they're like this last walk, like kind of like he's walking to his death, like his own sacrifice. So it continues in 32 and says, whoops, and it says, so those who were sent away, meaning the disciples that were sent away, and found the colt, it just as he had told him. Like, first of all, how flipping cool is that? Like, Jesus is telling you, hey, go to that town, there's gonna be a colt there, never been ridden on yet. Will you bring it here? And then they go. Can you imagine? Like, holy crap! Like, how did Jesus know this? Well,
Yeah.
because he's God. Um, and as they were untying the colt, its owner said to them, "Why are you untying the colt?" And they said, "The Lord has need of it." And they brought it to Jesus, and throwing their cloaks or their coats on the colt, they set Jesus on it. As he rode along, they spread their cloaks on the road. As as he was drawing near, already on the way down the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of his disciples began to rejoice, praising God with a loud voice for all the mighty works that they had seen, saying, Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest. And some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to him, Teacher, rebuke your disciples, because they're thinking that he's being or that these disciples are being blasphemous and so forth. And Jesus said, I tell you, if these were silent, his disciples were silent, even every stone would cry out. Hello, we are worth more than the stones. The
Yeah.
stones don't get to go to heaven with Jesus.
Yeah.
That even if we don't cry out, the stones are going to. Even if we don't listen, so if we're not able to even listen to God, we are not able to listen to ourselves cry out with our symptoms, or the symptoms we're experiencing can be like, oh, my heart symptoms are like me crying out to God. My physical, like just that
Yeah.
reminder that we need to cry out to God and that we're going to,
Yeah.
regardless if we want to say it or not. So, like, this is also for us to be kind of like missionaries in a way, too, that, or a mission that like helps you always point back to Jesus, point back to the creation, the creator, not the creation, and how that we can honor our bodies and steward our bodies well with our food and with our lifestyles and all of that to actually live it out. And I don't know about you, Lindsay, but my specialty is people with obesity and obesity related diseases. And can I just go there for a minute that the
Yeah.
church ignores our people who are
Yes.
overweight?
Yes. I
Why is that okay to be ignored and not spoken into?
and
But
we bash people who are alcoholics.
yes, I was just going to say that. Sex
But you
addicts,
can
so
eat all you want and
mhm,
go back for seconds
yep,
and be extremely overweight, but you're okay.
yep,
Because the Bible doesn't say that's a sin.
yep.
Sorry, yes it does.
Yes, it does. And so like so alcohol, I'm
Because
glad you said that.
and that's in everything.
Yeah.
If you are excessively working out, if you are over the top in any area of your life and it becomes a god in your life,
Yep.
food can become a god in your life.
Yep.
Working out can become a god in your life. Anything you do that you put over God is your god.
Yep.
That's super dangerous.
Absolutely. And I like that really bothers me because I went through I would say probably more of my life than not, I've been overweight and or obese. I'm like so freaking excited that I'm not considered obese anymore. Like I'm in the
Yeah.
overweight category, and that's huge for me.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it right now because I'm still working on my foundations and all of that, but
Right.
I don't want to stay there. I want to
And if
be
you're listening, take it slow.
yes, take it slow. Do yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll
Please
learn a
don't.
lot about that.
Yes, you will. But I think too is that like you said, we bash alcohol, we bash sex addiction, we bash drug addiction. But the funny thing is, and the ironic thing is, it's not ironic, but all four of those, so drug addiction, alcohol addiction, sex addiction, and food addiction, all hit the same pleasure receptors in the brain, the exact same one. Okay, so first of all, how cool is that? I mean, it's all connected. But second of all, if you are overweight, so I can't unsee this now. Anytime I see someone overweight or obese, I know that they are probably struggling with one of those other three things. Because once food can
Hmm.
no longer um,
Satisfy you.
you have to move to the next high. So it's usually for women, and I know that this isn't talked about a lot, but for women, it's usually porn and sex addiction and inappropriate relationships and all that kind of stuff. That's usually the second piece. If you're married,
Really?
maybe not, yeah. If you're married, maybe not, because you may be getting satisfied at home. But then the next one is alcohol addiction. Because guess what? You can hide sex addiction for the most part. Food addiction is acceptable. Alcoholism is acceptable right now. The only one that's not acceptable is drug addiction. So you kind of stay away from that.
Yeah.
Or, so it's just interesting that evolution or evolving of how you're constantly seeking that next high and
Yeah.
getting it from that need for that high is supposed to come from God, not from our food or not from the excess of whatever
Of
else. So
anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's
Interesting.
exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
No,
s-
and then whenever I told you about
yes,
that message that I got, and then we just start, right before that, we were talking and brainstorming, like, what do we want our podcast to be about? And we both wanted it to be about Jesus, and we both wanted it to be about nutrition, but you didn't know I had received that message. And in the middle of that, we were just writing down words.
yep,
Like, what do we want this to be about? And we had so many different like ideas, and like nothing was clicking. And you said the rocks, and I was like, yeah, that's it.
Yep. Because the rocks are the foundation, the very like the very basis of life. And oh, and this is what we also talked about. So I'm like, oh my
We
gosh,
we had said cornerstone.
yes, we said cornerstone, and so like
Yes.
stone, and I'm like rocks. Even the rocks cry out. And then I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, how awesome
Even
is
our
this?
symptoms cry out.
Yes. And then it goes back to even Genesis 1, where we are
Mm-hmm.
formed from the stinking dust of the ground. Like we
Yeah.
were formed from the minerals of the ground. Minerals come in like stones and rocks and all of that. And then we are formed, like the women are formed from the rib of Adam. And like, how flippin' awesome. And
Yes.
like, this just goes back again to the creator.
Right. It always does.
Yep.
Everything does.
Yep. So this episode, or this podcast, Even the Rocks, is all about the foundations of wellness, but
Mm-hmm.
also the foundation.
Yes.